Welcome to the 13th episode of Secret Cults. Today's topic is the mediatic Hollywood religion, Scientology.
The Church of Scientology.
Church of Scientology.
The controversial Church of Scientology.
La cienciología es
你有听过三大基教吗？这个
Church of Scientology.
Church of
The Church of Scientology.
Before starting, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Comment down below what the next episode of Secret Cults should be and buy our merch. Without further ado, let's begin. In today's society, the term cult is frequently mentioned, often in reference to famous individuals, politicians, or business people accused of being involved in such groups. The presence of secret cults in Hollywood has been a topic of public intrigue for decades, with Scientology standing as one of the most prominent and controversial organizations. This investigation aims to explore Scientology, the contributions of its famous members to religion, and how their involvement has shaped their careers and lives. Additionally, it will delve into the obscure secrets behind this enigmatic organization. Hypothesis: the strong influence of secretive organizations like Scientology on Hollywood stars shapes their careers and public personas and possibly controls aspects of their private lives.
What is a cult? What exactly is a cult? And why is it so often confused with a religion? Is there a difference between the two? A cult, by definition, does not necessarily refer to religion, but is instead a type of social movement. Quote, cult versus new religions is a matter of perspective, says Ori Tabor, a senior lecturer in the Department of East Asian Languages and Civilizations, who teaches a class on new religion movements. Both are often centered around a charismatic leader who claims special access to knowledge or divine revelations. Examples being Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam, all named after their founders. This resemblance may be one reason why the line between cults and religion is often blurred. Historically, certain movements now considered mainstream religions, like Mormonism and Scientology, were once labeled as cults. Nevertheless, they have gained acceptance and in some cases even legal recognition. The distinction between a cult and a religion can be subjective, often influenced by cultural perceptions and state recognition. Wikipedia describes a cult as follows: a group of people who have a religion or a set of beliefs. In modern times, the term cult usually does not mean a mainstream religion, but a group set up in opposition to a center of established authority. New Age religions were often called cults because they were thought to be deviant social movements. Whether a group is considered a cult or a religion can evolve and is often determined by factors like social perception, leadership, and influence.
The first cult in the region is said to have been founded by William Money, who arrived in Los Angeles around 1841, but there is no proof of this. One of the most prominent early groups was the Theosophical Society, which set up a headquarters in Southern California in the late 19th century. This movement was headed by Helena Blavatsky in 1875. Blending Eastern religions, mysticism, and esoteric philosophies. Another influence in the area was Father Yod, Jim Baker, the leader of the Source family, a New Age cult that emerged in the 1960s and 70s. Quote, Southern Californians don't necessarily want what cults offer, but they are specifically and aggressively targeted for recruitment because cults badly want what Southern California offers. By the early 20th century, the gold rush in Hollywood had made the state synonymous with cash, and while the East Coast was dominated by established European religions, California in the early days was largely unchurched, explained University of Oregon professor Emeritus Marion Goldman, which made the area particularly appealing to founders of new religious movements and intentional communities, many of which wouldn't fit Rose's definition of what makes a destructive cult. But that meant California was also a perfect hunting ground for a con artist starting movements that were actually centered on coercing followers into giving them money and sex. Determining the exact number of cults and cult members in California or worldwide is nearly impossible. Conversely, People Live Cults has statistics that show the seriousness of the matter. There are up to 10,000 cults in the United States. This figure comes courtesy of cult expert Steve Eichel, although we are certain of his sources on the subject. One article from 1993 cites three research studies and estimates that there were 3,000 to 5,000 cults. As for cult members, estimate 1. In 1982, cult expert Margaret Singer estimated that between 300,000 to 3 million people in the United States were involved in cults. Estimate 2. A collection of studies compiled by the International Cultic Studies Association suggests that 0.5% to 3% of the population, or 1.65 million to 6.6 million people, become involved in a cult at some point in their lifetime. Estimate 3. Cult mediation, referencing a 1994 study by Chambers, Langone, Dole, and Grice, estimates 500,000 cult members in the US, though this is considered a conservative figure. These figures highlight the difficulty in obtaining precise data on cults due to varying definitions of what constitutes a cult and the secretive nature of many of these groups.
Probably heard of Scientology.
Why is it a religion? What's it here? What's it mean?
Well, whatever you have heard, if you haven't heard it from us, I can assure you, we are not what you expect. So take a look, and then decide for yourself.
Scientology is an international movement that emerged in the 1950s, founded on the thoughts of L. Ron Hubbard, a science fiction writer. He introduced his ideas to the general public in his book Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health. Hubbard's goal was to analyze human mental aberrations and offer a method for overcoming them. His background in science fiction writing heavily influenced the development of the religion.
We moved to Elizabeth, New Jersey, and he started writing Dianetics. The book was conceived, and he started working on it in 1950. He said many times that the only way to make any real money was to have a religion. That's essentially what he was trying to do with Dianetics. Get a religion where he could have an income, And the government wouldn't take it away from him in the form of taxes.
Scientology operates through a network of churches and missions. Each local church is a self-governed autonomous corporation licensed to use Scientology materials, even though they count on the Church of Scientology International, or CSI, which coordinates activities globally and promotes the church's interests worldwide. These centers teach the basic tenets of faith, conduct auditing procedures, and help people reach the state of clear. After reaching this state, members who seek to advance can attend one of the Advanced Organization Centers, where the training for the operating Titan OT levels 1 to 5 is available, levels that members reach by paying more.
The withhold of oneself.
Ron gave lectures everywhere for large amounts of money, and money just started pouring in. I mean, these people were paying $500 a piece in the 1950s for training in Dianetics. I felt that he was stealing from people and that he was hoodwinking them. All the business of sitting, holding hands, and putting all these false memories into people's minds. Then they would finally come along and say, "Oh, yes, I can remember it all." We were surrounded by sycophants. He began to believe that he was a savior and a hero, that he really was.
Scientology's rise to popularity was aided by the involvement of high-profile figures like John Travolta and other celebrities. The main reason they opened the Celebrity Century, an exclusive church for outstanding figures in Hollywood.
While Hubbard was hiding from public view, he was very active in directing the operations of the church, particularly in Hollywood.
This was just after the Haight-Ashbury era. And what Scientology was selling itself is get high without drugs. It was a place where people went and explored ideas, and you would often see famous people. Leonard Cohen, members of the Grateful Dead, Rock Hudson. So they purchased the Celebrity Center. The idea was to draw in these famous entertainers and use them as pitchmen for the religion.
After Hubbard's death, David Miscavige took his place as the leader of the church. David has been instrumental in Scientology's celebrity connections and ongoing promotion.
Hubbard died of a stroke in 1986, but he left no plan for succession. The ambitious David Miscavige stepped forward, and by bending arms and making deals, took control of the church and installed a new generation of lieutenants.
We want to make sure that all of us...
From the start, Scientology has been mired in controversy. Upon the release of Dianetics, psychiatrists and medical professionals accused the church of practicing medicine without a license. The church, in turn, criticized psychiatry for denying the spiritual side of human nature. This led to long-term conflict, particularly with the American Psychiatrists Association, APA, focusing on the church's opposition to conscientious alternative drugs and procedures like lobotomies.
Anybody who criticizes Scientology is fair game.
Whatever you're told, whatever needs to be done, if it's against the law, it doesn't matter.
The best example was in the mid-70s, Scientologists were walking into these Department of Justice offices and IRS offices and taking documents out by the yard. The FBI raided the Church of Scientology, the largest raid in FBI history at that time.
Oh my God, the building is filled with FBI and they're taking things. It was craziness.
Clearly, L. Ron Hubbard was in charge of all of that, but he was only named an unindicted co-conspirator. And Mary Sue Hubbard, Hubbard's wife, she went to prison, 10 others went to prison.
This was where I cut my teeth. I was in my early 20s. Miscavige was in his early 20s. We were taking over for this group that had created the largest domestic espionage operation in the history of the United States.
They were breaking into offices, framing people. This is the activities of a church?
There was a guy who, was a reporter for the LA Times whose dog was poisoned while he was working on a Scientology story.
Again and again, while reporting this story, we met many former members who described Scientology as a dangerous and deeply paranoid organization.
They hire private detectives to harass people.
I have been sued twice.
Financial ruin.
Years of harassment.
Their homes broken into, have them beaten.
We chased her around. We followed her to the airport.
Gotten hold of personal phone records.
Slash their tires, break their car windows.
I was locked in a chicken wire cage.
Dangerous, horrifying, terrifying fraud. A nightmare.
In 1963, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, raided Scientology's Washington's D.C. church and seized its e-meters. Devices used in auditing sessions, a practice in which members explore their thoughts and experiences to achieve mental clarity, claiming they were unauthorized devices for diagnosing and treating disease.
Any government taxes.
The founding Church of Scientology attempted in 1967 to get a court determination that it was exempt from federal taxation on the basis that it was a non-profit religious organization. A federal court denied the founding church tax exemption, saying that some of the church's earnings from 1955 to 1959 were used for the personal benefit of private individuals, L. Ron Hubbard and family. ABC News has repeatedly requested interviews with Mr. Hubbard. We have been told that he is unavailable.
The church's legal battles have been numerous, culminating in its 1993 victory over the IRS, which granted it tax-exempt status and ended the longest investigation in IRS history. Additionally, this also declared Hasbrou's novels as religious texts.
And, as the saying goes, the rest is history. On October the 1st, 1993, at 8:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the IRS issued letters recognizing Scientology and every one of its organizations as fully tax-exempt. The war is over!
The war ended because the IRS surrendered. It forgave the billion-dollar tax bill and granted Scientology its tax exemption. Even Hubbard's novels were declared religious texts, their sales exempt from taxes.
What happened is that Fred Goldberg, who was the IRS commissioner at that time, Miscavige let Goldberg know that if we could find a way to get tax-exempt status, all those lawsuits will go away overnight.
And as we were going out the door, Fred Goldberg goes, "Is he serious?" And I said, "Yeah." And he sort of breathed a sigh of relief and kind of nodded and smiled.
Several former members have become outspoken critics, accusing the church of financial fraud, illegal medical practices, and vindictive actions against both journalists and former members.
When somebody's speaking out against Scientology, investigate to find out who the instigator is.
I started getting calls from the church, and they're really coming after me.
They showed up at my mother's house. The feeling in the pit of your stomach knowing that Scientology's chief dirty tricks PI was just on my mother's front step. They've tried to destroy me, there's no question. They create anonymous websites about me and smear me with a lot of garbage.
www.whoistomdevark.com.
Whoispaulhaggis.com. Paul Haggis, the hypocrite of Hollywood.
This guy's a sex pervert, or this guy's a drug dealer.
In the meantime, survey carefully to find out what he most values and protects. Immediately drop a 3-pronged program to threaten it effectively. For 5 years.
I told you to leave. Get out of here.
Oh, no, I'm leaving.
You can't even defend yourself on this, can you? What's your name? I gave you my name, Marty. What's your name? Marty, I gave you my name.
The people on Marty's doorstep were sent by Scientology because the church had branded Marty a squirrel, a term invented by Hubbard for former members who threatened church teachings.
David Miscavige had you come all the way from
Marty,
San Jose.
Marty,
you can't do that. Marty! I just did it.
That's my personal property.
Yeah, that's right.
Scientology has had an enormous impact on Hollywood, shaping the lives and career of several famous members. At the forefront is Tom Cruise, arguably the church's most influential figure.
Now, people, okay? These are the times we will all remember. Were you there? What did you do? So what do you say? We're gonna clean this place up? Huh? Okay. Because we're counting on you. All right? To LRH.
He joined in 1986, and Cruise has been a dedicated Scientologist with a close relationship with the leader, David Miscavige.
Tom Cruise was the guy. Miscavige and Cruise had been pretty buddy-buddy way back to Days of Thunder. He was on the set with them, went skydiving with them, was hanging out with them all the time, and that was when Tom first met Nicole.
He had really fallen for her. They got married, and this posed a dilemma for the church because her father was a well-known psychologist in Australia. From the church's perspective, he's the enemy. He's a suppressive person.
How could you ignore me? This bond has created a status between the church where he is treated with exceptional reverence, almost as a god figure. The church reportedly supports him extensively, playing a prominent role in both his personal life and career decisions, ensuring he receives favorable conditions.
Tom Cruise is the perfect Scientology celebrity.
And nobody's benefited more from his membership. I mean, the amount of free Sea Org labor.
Sea Org members make 40 cents an hour. And I don't think there's any way Tom Cruise is not aware of that.
The church has done so much for him. They've tricked out all his cars and his motorcycles.
Oh, I want a new limo. We'll build it for you. Decked out Tom Cruise's hangar in Santa Monica. Installed all the audiovisual stuff in Cruise's home.
Tom Cruise had expressed this fantasy of wanting to run through a meadow with Nicole Kidman, and so everybody had to work and till the soil. And then David Miscavige didn't like it, and so the whole thing had to be ripped up again. This was at the Gold facility, which is this desert facility where there's all kinds of great stuff if you're Tom Cruise, you know, wonderful living quarters and a gym.
When Cruise comes up, everyone's told in advance, you better have a fucking smile on your face. Everyone had to call Cruise sir.
Tom was in Spain. They were opening up a new Scientology church in Madrid. And he was overheard to complain that he needed a new girlfriend. Soon after that, a young Scientologist pre-med student named Nazanin Bonianti, she was told that she was going to get a special assignment.
Years later, Nazanin became a successful TV actress and would have a small part in a Paul Haggis film. But at the time, she was a dedicated young Scientologist who believed in the church's claims for its humanitarian mission. In fact, she set a monthly record for selling books for the church. Nazanin may not speak publicly about her experiences because of an NDA the church pressured her to sign. But I discovered details from FBI testimony regarding her ordeal. David Miscavige assigned Nazanin's case to a key church official, Greg Wilhere. He put her through a 1-month program of on-camera interviews, intensive auditing, and security checks.
She was moved into the Celebrity Center, separated from her family, and certain problems were addressed during this period of time. One was she had a boyfriend. She is handed a transcript of his auditing session in which he admitted that he had an affair. And so she broke up with him.
Then Wilhere took her to an orthodontist to have her braces removed. At Burberry and other stores in Beverly Hills, he bought her $20,000 worth of clothes. At the Celebrity Center, a man who worked for Cruise's hairstylist colored Nazanin's hair to Cruise's liking. Nazanin was told that her makeover was part of the church's humanitarian mission. She had to look her best for conferences with world leaders. Only after she was flown first class to New York did she discover the actual role that the church wanted her to play. She was to be the girlfriend of Scientology's biggest star. Within a month, Nazanin was living with Cruz. While at his house in Telluride, Miscavige came to visit. Overcome by a severe headache, Nazanin had a hard time understanding Miscavige, which infuriated him. The next day, Cruz, inches from her face, pounded his fist on the table and screamed at her for insulting the head of the church. 2 weeks later, church henchman Tommy Davis delivered the news to Nazanin. The relationship with Cruz was over.
John Travolta is another respected figure within Scientology. Having joined in 1975, he often credits the church for his success, stating that it provided him with the mental tools to succeed in Hollywood. Travolta's commitment to Scientology has been unwavering, and he constantly thanks the religion.
Probably my favorite concept of Scientology is a world without criminality, a world without war, and a world without insanity. And I know of no other group that their goals are that clear. Look, you name me another philosophy, religion, or technology that one of its main goals, besides the three I mentioned earlier, where joy is the operative concept.
Some other members, like Leo Remini, have taken a different path, sharing their critical perspectives after leaving. Remini's departure and subsequent public critique, including her book and TV series, have sparked a conversation about the church's impact on its member lives. Another Hollywood stars who have been associated with Scientology include Danny Masterson, Bishu Phillips, Giovanni Ribisi, Erica Christensen, Juliette Lewis, Jenna Elfman, Laura Prepon, Lisa Marie Priestley, Michael Pena, and Christy Alley. Each has had varying degrees of involvement, with some remaining dedicant members, while others have since left or distanced themselves from the church. All this research has made us realize something profound. We truly don't know anything about anyone. While we admire celebrities just like Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez, or Eminem, we remain largely unaware of their private lives or hidden affiliations, which foster a sense of distrust and resentment toward an industry that feels secretive, even deceptive. What is more concerning is that these organizations not only target the famous. Every day, people are vulnerable too, often sacrificing time, family, and resources to devote themselves to leaders or beliefs that exploit them.
My son was declared because he wouldn't disconnect from his friend. I was declared, and my husband was declared because we wouldn't disconnect from my son. And now guess what happened? Everyone connected to us just scatters to the wind. Through all of this time, I have a daughter who's very much into the church. I have a granddaughter who's the love of my life and who loves her Nana. I was planning on talking to my daughter and trying to tell her what was really happening. She hugged me. She told me she loved me. She said, I have to disconnect from you. So, I just was concentrating on smelling her hair and seeing the way she felt, touching her skin, my face. It's the last time I saw them.
Although some stories might have exaggerated details, the consistency of this account reveals a disturbing reality. It's difficult to deny the influence these groups hold, especially when so many remain silent, whether out of fear or allegiance, highlighting just how far their reach extends.
It's like brainwashing, really simple. I mean, that's a scary word, and it took me a long time to come to that conclusion that that's what's occurred.
You take on a kind of a matrix of thought that is not your own.
And I think that's how I and other people got involved and stuck through it for so long. Because when you're out, you look at it and you go, what the crap was I thinking, you know?
It's such a hard thing when you do wake up going, oh my God, because you have this wave of regrets. I just started to think that maybe my entire life has been a lie.
You just don't see it happening to you. You justify so much. Cults, they prey on people, suggesting that, you know, you should be able to think for yourself and then tell you exactly how you have to think or get out. And if you get out, there will be consequences.
To conclude, there is no denying that cults in Hollywood exist and have to some extent shaped the career of famous people like Tom Cruise. This research has demonstrated their influence while also highlighting the dangers posed by these and other organizations worldwide, which operate to manipulate and exploit ordinary people as well as famous figures. Now more than ever, it's crucial to take action against these groups, following the examples of individuals like Leah Remini by exposing these organizations and raising public awareness of their hidden power. That's all for today's video. We hope you enjoyed and learned something new about cults. All the sources are going to be linked down in the description, as well as our report on the topic. Don't forget to share this video, and remember, keep investigating these topics yourself to form your own opinion. This is our investigation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.